And in Canada, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has secured his seat in the House of Commons this fall after winning a critical Alberta by-election on Monday. Poilievre will now represent the rural Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot.
This has been a privilege. Getting to know the people in this region has been the privilege of my life. In fact, I've had a hell of a lot of fun. Whether it's been at the Bronx matches or the rodeos, or walking into a parking lot, some guy I don't even know walks up and offers me a big bag of beef jerky. Doesn't happen in the city. Or another guy says he's got a four-wheeler and he tells me I can tear around town in it all by myself and trusts the city boy to do that. I don't know what he was thinking, but I really love the people of Battle River Crowfoot. They're the kind of, what you see is what you get, give you the shirt off their back, tell it like it is, common sense people. They really, I love you too. Thank you very much. I love you.
Your voices and our issues will be raised on the national stage because we have a national leader representing us whose fierce dedication and commitment to bringing a megaphone to this region is unmatched. And folks, let me tell you, that has already been the case. When headlines say that the Prime Minister moves because Pierre Poilievre speaks. We have a fighter in Pierre Poilievre. He'll be a fighter for Battle River Crowfoot, he'll be a fighter for Alberta, for the West, and he will be the right fighter for the Canadian people.
Earlier, I sat down with the News Forum's Western Canada Bureau Chief, Hal Roberts, to discuss the election results.
Hal, thank you so much for the time today.
Absolutely.
Now, how big of a win was yesterday's by-election for Pierre Poilievre?
Teresa, it's safe to say that it was a landslide victory for Pierre Poilievre as he took 80.4% of the vote. There were 86,000 eligible voters in the Battle River Crowfoot riding. Over 50,000 people voted, which is, pretty strong for a by-election, with Poilievre taking over 40,500 votes. Now, his nearest competitor was the independent candidate, Bonnie Critchley, who garnered just over 5,000 votes, and the Liberal candidate finished third in Darcy Spady with just over 2,200. Now, Teresa, what's interesting about this election is how the longest ballot committee was trying to make a point fielding 201 independent candidates as they were protesting for electoral reform. There were 214 candidates in total. But ironically, instead of the longest ballot, thanks to Elections Canada changing the rules to a write-in ballot, it actually became the shortest ballot.
So now that Pierre Poilievre has this win under his belt, what's next for the Conservative leader?
Well, the timing for Pierre Poilievre's return to the House of Commons is unclear right now. Elections Canada says the results of the by-election must be validated in a process scheduled for Saturday. Then Poilievre must be sworn in before he can take his seat in the House of Commons chamber. Now, the Commons, as you know, is on a summer break right now, and MPs are not scheduled to return until September the 15th. Now, Poilievre will also face a leadership review coming up in January, and the party's National Council agreed that it'll take place in Calgary. There are some within the party who are not happy that the Tories blew a 24-point lead last April to the Liberals and ended up losing the last election. And they put the blame squarely on Pierre Poilievre's shoulders, along with his campaign manager, Jenny Byrne. Yet there's still a high percentage of Poilievre supporters who believe that he will lead them to the promised land of forming government. They also say there's no real active challenger waiting in the wings to become party leader, so he should easily win that leadership review.
And what percentage would Poilievre be looking for in that leadership review that you'd mentioned that's coming up in January?
Well, political pundits say anything under 65 or 70% would raise a lot of questions and will not be good news for Poilievre. While Conservatives may be willing to give Poilievre another shot at 24 Sussex, it's really unclear right now if the majority of Canadians share that view, Teresa. Since Justin Trudeau stepped down and Mark Carney became Prime Minister, the party's seen a resurgence, so Pierre Poilievre must really show Canadians that he has a better plan when it comes to dealing with key issues such as affordable housing, crime, the economy, and the Trump tariffs, which are impacting so many.
Well, Hal, thank you for breaking that down for us.
You're welcome.
I also spoke with political commentator John Buchan about what to expect when Pierre Poilievre returns to the House of Commons.
I think Pierre will have to highlight a lot of the track record of Carney so far, which I think the honeymoon period's over. I think that there's a lot to basically go through. Unemployment's high. The budget was $92 billion, more than expected. So as a banker, Mark Carney, you'd expect him to have better numbers than that. So there's a lot to pick through. So I believe that Pierre will come in right off the bat and start highlighting some of the failures. And then as time goes on, they'll be looking to sort of maybe have some division between the Liberals and the NDP and try to maybe stir something up there. And that way we can get an election as soon as possible.
John also unpacked what was behind Mr. Poilievre losing his Carleton riding seat.
It was one of the most winnable ones until sort of the media juggernaut got involved and started to push Carney as a favorable candidate and started to gin up fear regarding tariffs. I think he did a pretty good job. He actually grew the party. He didn't win his riding in Carleton, but they had redesigned the maps prior to the election, and obviously the ballot was stacked. So there's a lot to be talked about there. I'm comfortable with him leading the party. The base really likes him. He's still favorable amongst conservatives. And I think as time goes on, the nation will see that he's the right person for the job because I believe he's actually the most honest politician out of all the leaders.